I really think when I'm farming today, what my grandparents would have done, it's taking a respect for the ground that we grow our crops on and realizing what an asset that ground is and what a foundation for the family business it is.
Hell yeah. I think people should care where their food comes from, the story of it, the people behind it, and the impact on our environment.
There's a huge amount of innovation in the hop industry. I work with a lot of farms, and I'm seeing across the board, growers are more interested in sustainability, and their consumers certainly is. So the use of water is a good example. Most of the industry is now irrigated with drip irrigation, so this has eliminated all runoff. The growers are using water, delivering it precisely, delivering nutrients precisely. That's been a major change. There's been a large shift in terms of cover cropping, and this is being done for soil health benefits, also for carbon sequestration. We're also seeing a lot of growers think about how they approach pest management. How do we look at the entire crop as an ecosystem, and how do we change the balance so that's less favorable for the pest?
Precision irrigation is putting the water where it needs to go. We use drip tubes specifically to get water exactly where we want it to go, which is the root system, versus furrow or overhead irrigation. We're using 20 gallons of water, and that 20 gallons is going to the roots, not anywhere else.
Before we used furrows or rill irrigation, and you would push water, use gravity to push water through the field and just kind of saturate the field. With drip irrigation, we were able to just pinpoint a specific area to irrigate. In doing so, we're mitigating water usage. We've got 2 different tubes, and the reason for doing that is you're trying to evenly disperse the water out to the feeder roots. So if you're on top of the hill, you're not necessarily hitting all the water roots. You're just hitting maybe the rhizomes in the center of the crown, whereas on the side, you're kind of promoting more root growth outwards, building a stronger plant. There's several different soil types that we're dealing with out here. Some soils have a lot more rocks. Some soils are more of a loam or clay. We've mapped out all of our fields with an EC map. They will actually map out your field. From that, we're able to build our irrigation system specific to that field. This is one of our new irrigation systems. You can see that each zone has a different size of pipe. So you've got this zone number 13. It's actually a 5-inch pipe, so obviously it's gonna be getting more water, more volume. And then you've got zone 12 here, which is a 2.5-inch pipe, much smaller pipe. You're gonna get less water. All of this is based on electrical conductivity mapping. By doing this, we've kind of created more of an even canopy. You can calibrate that specific field and put on the appropriate amount of water without leaching nutrients or overwatering. Technologies like drip irrigation, opposed to rill irrigation, we're seeing numbers up 56% savings in water usage, which is substantial. It's huge. And I think as time goes on, as we learn these moisture meters, as we learn different pulse technologies with our irrigation, I think we're just gonna get better and better and better. I do think there's opportunity in composting hop waste, not just putting it out in the field, but actually composting it and turning it. You've got to have a large amount of land available just for storage of that. And then you've got to have someone who's actually able to go out and turn it. I do think there's opportunity there, and it's something that we have been working on. You put some minds together and you come up with these ideas and then you implement it. That's the fun of farming, the change, these innovations. Carbon sequestration is something that we're always evolving and working on. Cover crops are very important in carbon sequestration.
We've taken carbon out of the atmosphere and put it in the soil, right? If you did that on every arable acre across the globe and increased soil carbon by 0.4% a year, you would reverse all the greenhouse gases that we are putting into the atmosphere. Right behind the crew that's picking the hops, there's a tractor with a mower, mowing the cover crop down and prepping so that we can get in and seed our fall cover crop as quickly behind our harvest as possible, right? So then it gives that fall cover crop the longest amount of growing season to maximize the biomass production before winter.
We do cover cropping. This will be our second season doing mob grazing. In the off season, we take and run either cows or sheep in a high density herd environment. Through that, they're able to improve our soil health, and hopefully in turn, those plants, as the soil improves, will be more and more healthier and disease and pest resistant. Our pesticide application was like 20% of last year. I mean, it was just hardly anything in comparison, and you know, really being committed to the kind of regenerative approach is really, I think, in the long term going to help our farm tremendously.
Integrated pest management, it's instead of just blanketing your fields with a certain chemistry, it's actually checking fields weekly and not applying any chemistry unless it's needed. I have 2 scouts that check each field once a week. We use basic statistics for it. We check in 32 different areas. We're getting average mite counts. We're counting beneficial insects, death beetles, ladybugs, lacewings, quantity of mite eggs, high, medium, low, aphids, of course, powdery mildew, downy mildew. So we have a rating system. It all gets plugged into a computer. That data gets input on an iPad. From there, I can decide daily what fields need to get chemistries, what fields can we hold off on. There's an economic threshold to mite, so you can allow your populations to get to a certain level before you need to spray. If you don't spray, you're gonna end up with red hops, and nobody wants red hops. You're only applying chemistries that are needed. And when you're mitigating chemistries, you're not only saving money for the business, it's better for the environment, it's better for all stakeholders. It's quite a process, IPM. And every year, it seems like we get a little bit better and better at it.
Last year, we actually had probably the worst mite outbreak that the whole state actually has had. You know, at the end of the day, when you're spraying things, I mean, the Electroblast sprayer, it's all about spraying at the right time and getting it to the target. You know, that's the main thing. If you're out spraying and you're not getting it where it needs to be, I mean, you're just wasting your time and money. I mean, so we've really invested into the electrostatic sprayers and connects to the plant. You're basically getting all the active ingredient that you can where it needs to get versus just driving through fields and hoping that it gets to where it needs to be. IPN adds a lot of value to our farm and the environment, I think, because of the decisions that we make to not impact the environment negatively. You know, I think that we have the end say on how we want to do certain things. If you're going to do things to impact the environment negatively, you know, it's going to hurt you in the end too, because if you don't have the right growing conditions, if you're not taking care of your soils aren't going to produce properly and as efficiently as they can. So just managing all that stuff, you know, putting in what you want to get out of it, I think is one of the main things that we get from it.
The objectives of my program are to develop new hop varieties that meet the needs of brewers and growers. Every year, my program makes crosses. So we're making selection decisions, identifying parents based on those decisions, intermating them, developing new progeny, selecting, crossing, evaluating, selecting, crossing. It's a process that we go through every year. Today, we prepared pollen to make a cross. That pollen was selected based on a male that had characteristics of disease resistance for powdery mildew, and a female that we know we really like the aroma and brewing characteristics and the agronomic qualities of that female. In October, we'll harvest those seeds, get them planted up in the greenhouse, and then they'll be here in this very spot next year. And the process repeats. There are a lot of things to consider when you're developing a new hop variety. As a breeder, I'm juggling the need to have a plant that's vigorous, that yields well, that is agronomically sound, and the grower's actually gonna wanna grow them. Brewers have to like them. We could develop a line that is resistant to all the major diseases and pests, but if brewers don't like it, it's not gonna gain traction. And that's another challenge, is that just because something smells really great in the field doesn't mean it's always gonna perform well in brewing. As a public breeder, I feel a lot of responsibility for developing something that's disease resistant. So that's also at the forefront of my mind, but we all collaborate and contribute to this process to develop new hop varieties.
The kinds of sustainable practices that we've been working on, a large part of it came out of the life cycle assessment that Hop Growers of America did last year. We saw one of the largest contributors to our carbon footprint was in our kilning operations and our dryer. So we focused a lot on efficiencies in our dryer. We have new burners and fans in there, VFDs, and automation and control technology that allows us to really get up to temperature faster and dry the hops more efficiently. And we found 15% reduction in gas use last year, kiln over kiln, from the previous year, just because of some adjustments in dialing in our practices there. So to me, it's just our responsibility to make sure that we're taking care of our resources in the best way possible. Obviously, it's really important that we deliver the highest quality product we can, and I think often that's seen in contrast to sustainable practices or environmental stewardship. And I think you really have to see that they're two sides of the same coin. Really investing in that is what gives us longevity. It's what gives us a better quality product.
There's a lot of exciting things, and I think as growers, we need to continue to be open-minded on these new technologies, try them.
With the tools now to measure this at a very granular scale, I think is where we're seeing the industry come now, and it's really exciting for what's possible in the future.